Welcome to the Put On Waivers Media Group, home of the Put On Raiders podcast and the Student Body Right podcast. This is your place for the best breakdowns and the best insight for those who fight on and bleed silver and black. Now, here are your hosts, Dwayne Douglas and Ryan Holmes.
And welcome, everybody, to the glorious episode of the Student Body Right USC podcast. I'm your host, Dwayne Douglas, and as always, the hurricane and the earthquake shores of the Pacific Ocean. Beautiful day out here in Southern California. PORSBR is my Twitter handle. That's PORSBR is my Twitter handle. And you also can use that PORSBR to get 10% off of activateblack.com. Their greatness is in their DNA. Anything you can imagine for your leisure wear. They got sneakers. They got for the ladies who like to work out. They got sports bras. They got tank tops. They got hoodies. They have a collection in collaboration with Muhammad Ali gear on it. Also Allen Iverson that he was rocking during the NBA Hall of Fame stuff. So go check them out. Actively-black.com. Their greatness is in their DNA. USC is hoping that their greatness is in their DNA as well. The season is rapidly approaching, so just trying to get all these podcasts out to you. By all means, contact the show. Make sure you may go in the comments. Let me know what's going on for all you Trojan fans out there, what your questions are about and what you want to talk about, all those things like that here on the podcast. So let's roll through it here. And, let's start with somebody asked me a question really quickly about the Pac-10 looks tough. Who do you fear? Who do you fear the most in the Pac-12? There are some teams in this conference who are really good. Do you fear any one opponent? And I think I don't know if I fear any one opponent. I just think that there's just hills they have to kind of get over, and I think the Utah Hill is one of them. Regardless of whether or not Cam Rising plays or not, that team is usually better against USC than other teams. They just play USC really tough, and I think last year was really a game, and there's some games that were just indicative of that. They were really tough games, hard games. They were physical up front, and USC couldn't stop Utah. They couldn't stop a nosebleed against the Utes, so they have to show that they can stop Ty Willingham and stop and stop them. Utah didn't really stop USC, but USC didn't do a good job of stopping them. Obviously, the big physicalness, the big physical front, and on both sides of Washington, tough team. They're gonna have some really talented players up front that you got to deal with. So that, and they also have a quarterback who can sling it. I mean, they're as explosive as SC is. I mean, they're going to be a very explosive team, and then you don't want to forget Oregon and give a lot of respect to Notre Dame as well. But I think if there's one team that I really fear, or a game that I'm sitting on my hands with, is that I just need to see them win a game, it be over, and the final score is USC a higher score by 1 point or 40 points over Utah. They just have to beat Utah. That's like the first hurdle of the season is to beat Utah. I do feel like they'll beat Notre Dame in Notre Dame. I think it's the first big game of the year. They'll be up. They'll be ready to go. But they need to show that they can beat Ty Willingham squad, beat Cam Rising, and beat the Utah Utes. No question about it. I think if you're gonna go like who you fear the most, I mean that's probably the best. That's probably the team that you got to beat. And they play them early. They play them right in the middle of the season. They should be all lathered up, ready to go, and hopefully they can walk into that game healthy. And you know what? Like I hope Cam Rising's healthy too, because I don't want to. Because I know if we beat Utah without Cam Rising, that's all you're gonna hear. It's the chirping that USC did not beat Utah without Cam Rising, which is like I don't want to hear all that part of it. So we do talk special teams on this show. And if you're a Raider fan and you talk to Ryan and I talk about Put On Raiders podcast, we talk about special teams. Eddie Saplicki, and then you got Dennis Lynch. Also, you have Tyler Robles, who's from my neck of the woods out here in Southern California, who has a boot and a half. So I do think Dennis Lynch, who was not called upon a lot, but when you get to play the big teams, when you get to play the best teams in the country, like you're gonna need to get the kicking game in the right direction. You're going to desperately need to have the kicking game in the right direction. And if you don't, then you're going to end up losing some games. And that's the last thing in the world you want to see is you lose a game because of a kick, especially if it's a medium kick. You know how in college the hashes are so spread apart. But I mean, you got to see Dennis Lynch come through. I think I think EC, I'll call him EC because I can never say his last name. The punter transfer from Arizona State has just been a great kicker. He was, all everything punter last year. And what you want to see him do is just kick the ball within within the 20-yard line, kick it out of bounds, give his team, give his defense an opportunity to make turnovers because the other team has to go the length of the field. You're down 14-0, 17-3 to Caleb Williams in this offense, and then you have to go right to a long down and distance. USC has Muhammad coming off the edge. They have, Bars and Bear coming up the middle. They have all these guys who can rush the passer. Then you can see how games can get lopsided really quickly when you play the USC Trojans. As far as that goes, kickoff return. It looks like it's going to be. I wouldn't have, they're right now the unofficial depth chart from ourlads.com is Dorian Singer at one spot, Taj Washington at another, and then you have Quentin Joyner as another guy. So we'll see. They have a lot. USC just wants to have those guys touch the football. They want to have a lot of guys touch the football, and I feel like that's a great opportunity for some big plays there. I know Raleek had that mishap in the bowl game. I would like to see Raleek back there on kickoffs along with Zachariah Branch. But in the punt game, I mean, when you're forced to punt, and if they can get 3 and outs, then you're backed up, and you have to kick it to number 1. You have to kick it to Zachariah Branch. Be careful, son. Like be careful, son, because like you really want to kick the ball out of bounds. You can't kick it every time out of bounds when you're going against USC. It's gonna be a tough one, but I think they just have so many ways to. And I know they don't have a dedicated special teams coach, for SC, but so whenever they make a mistake, they're gonna say, "Oh, how come you don't have a dedicated coach for that?" I would say that in the punting game, opposed to the kicking game where everybody kicks it out of bounds, you have an opportunity for some big plays. And I think Branch and Brown are so elusive. They're so beautiful to watch in the open field that you better be careful. You just better be careful when those guys have the football. They're that talented. They're that special. And I think that, you should people better really consider, what they even call on third down, because they don't get the first down and they are way back. They're backed up in their own territory. And then all of a sudden you got to kick it to Branch, you got to kick it to Brown. It's just not a good situation for you. So, I mean, they kind of affect you in a lot of different ways. As far as when you're backed up too. So, a lot going on with USC, and I think that's something I definitely want to kind of drop a nugget on with special teams, because it's important. It's an important coverage team. Coverage is important. Not holding on big returns is important. I mean, you got to remember, after Utah goes up on a 2-point conversion, when USC is playing at Utah, Raleek Brown, with I think about 40 seconds left in the game, had a kickoff return that got USC to the 50-yard line. Caleb Williams is playing out of his mind in that game. And it got called back because of a Brendan Rice holding penalty. Now, I heard it was a pretty bad hold. I cannot find that video to see if I could, if it actually was a holding penalty, but holding penalties are huge, and not being locked in on every single play, especially on a big play like that, that could literally won the game. That kickoff return, that special teams play could have literally won the game for SC if they were able to not hold on that last drive of the game. So special teams, who I fear this season. That's how it goes on the Student Body Right USC podcast. Listen, pack the collie. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. San Jose State coming up later this week. It should be all good for the Trojans here on the podcast. So, all right, take care. Fight on. Deuces.